Hello all, and welcome to another video diary of the Psychedelic Virgin. I'm Nazra, as you may already know, or not. So I realized that I never did a video diary after my first official my first official psychedelic cherry pop. So where to start? So it was incredible, and not incredible as in I was floating through trees and seeing how beautiful the world was, but beautiful in the sense that I literally heard from my 3-year-old self, my I think 4-year-old self, and my 6-year-old self. And I heard from myself literally because something really super incredible happened where let me watch my time too because I don't want to be too long. Where literally my child's voice came out of me. And it's just one of those things where obviously you don't sound exactly the same as an adult as you do when you're a kid, but it's another thing to hear that voice come out of you. And I was completely blown away. So my 6-year-old self, and I may get emotional because I actually haven't done a video diary of this. Yeah, and I've talked to a couple of friends about it, but I don't really, I guess I haven't really voiced it to them in the same way that I'm probably about to now. But literally the first thing I heard come out of me was my 6-year-old self. But before that, let me back up a little bit. So I was out in the woods, just super duper remote, very much in nature. Just a nice little quaint cabin in the woods. And you know what, the vibe, I'm just going to be totally transparent. The vibe was I just literally went down to my birthday suit completely nude because I was just that remote, and laid with I had my blanket, but I had my feet in the earth for most of the time, at least for the beginning part. And I had the sun kind of beating down on me. And what was really, really cool was I felt this sense of warmth, even though it was kind of cold. It was, for me, cold, low 60s. And wow, I feel like a calm come over me just talking about it and just recalling it. But I just felt this warmth come over me, which I thought was really interesting considering, I'm just naked in the woods. I mean, I had the blanket a little bit, covering me for the most part, but still for me that's kind of a big deal. So I felt this warmth come over me. And I remember smiling. I didn't laugh this time. The last time when I was with an acquaintance of mine, I giggled a lot. And this time there was no giggling. It was just literally just smiling. And I was remembering my pawpaw, who was the light of my life. And I don't know, I think I mentioned it in the very first video I've ever done, but he died when I was 6. And I remember I I've always talked about him as an adult as like, oh wow, like he died like so perfect in my eyes, because that's, the age like where you don't really see your like the flaws of the adults around you yet. And so what I was remembering is was that, as an adult, I've always been one to be like, oh, I hate the cold, I hate the cold, I hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it. And what I remembered is that when I was a little girl, because my papa was very outdoorsy, and so we spent a lot of time out in the backyard, and he was always like working on this old car or doing yard work, or and we played together. And when we played a lot of times like outside. And what I remembered is that I used to love the cold. I actually used to love it, and I forgot that. I forgot that I love the cold. And I'm not a huge fan of it now, but I definitely have a stronger tolerance to it since I recalled that memory. And yeah, this smile of warmth and remembering how much I love him and how much he loved me was really, and I'm not actually crying right now, just because it's cold out here, so it's making my nose run. But yeah, so yeah, that was interesting. I completely forgot. And I think it's because, I loved everything about him, and everything that he did, I did, and everything that he wanted to do, I wanted to do. And I remembered that, time just stood still and flew by all at the same time with him. And he, he made everything fun. He made everything an adventure. And so, maybe I didn't love the cold, but I didn't think about it as a kid. I didn't think about it. I wasn't like, oh, it's so cold, I want to go inside because it's so cold, like I've done as an adult. I mean, I could literally stay outside all day. And one of the things that I remembered actually before the mushroom trip was that he showed me my first snow when I was a baby. And I actually remember that. And I remember telling my grandmother, when I pointed to a picture in the photo album, I said, oh, that was the one where he showed me my first snow. And she's like, how do you remember that? And I'm like, because there's just certain things, even as a baby, that I remember, even though they're like, oh no, you can't remember any memories before 3. Bullshit. I call bullshit. So, and there is evidence pointing to that, some people do have the ability to tap into that part of their brain. So, yeah, I was just remembering that. And so that memory being so young when I was just a baby just reminded me, oh, wow, like I actually, I love the cold. It's fine. It's okay. And so, yeah, that was really beautiful. And so after that, nothing happened. What was interesting, so, okay, I took about like a little under 4 grams. I think it was like 3.8. Do not try that at home, whatever, disclaimer. I'm not a doctor. I'm just, a person who's sharing my experience, right? But yeah, it was so fascinating because I was, and I say, like, it just was just, I was able to lose control while still being in control, if that makes sense. Yes, I was by myself. And no, I've never done that much before. I mean, and I found that, 0.5 or 1 gram really doesn't do a lot for me. And maybe that will change as I continue to heal, the lingering sort of like depression type symptoms. But I will say after that, I don't feel depressed anymore. I still get the anxiety. And that's just something I'm just going to have to continue to unravel. And even with the depression as well, I feel like I'm more like, I notice symptoms of it, but I wouldn't say that I have it. Whereas before, I feel like I was pretty like full blown in it. And I was looking back at some old podcast episodes that I shot, And I just noticed I could see on my face, I could see in my face and in my eyes, I could see the sadness. And and that was actually a really difficult time in my life there. So it makes sense that I'd be able to see that because I was really just trying to like fake it till I made it kind of thing. I do feel a lot lighter. I would say between that experience and today, which has been about a month, um, I feel about 40% better, which I know like maybe that doesn't seem like a lot, but just think if you are making $10 an hour and all of a sudden you are making like $50 an hour, you definitely notice a difference, right? And so that's kind of how I'm looking at it. It's like I just like big time. Um, so yeah. So what happened after that was really interesting. And I'm in the midst of writing my book, The Diary of a Psychedelic Virgin. And I'm about a little over 30,000 words in. So I'm almost halfway there. And I'm still trying to figure out how to end it, which affects how I structure it overall. Right. And so, yeah. So the next thing that happened is that I got a lot of like teeth chattering. And I've not really seen a lot of people talk about that, but I definitely noticed it a lot. It was intense. And I was like, oh my gosh, like what, like how long am I going to do this? How long am I going to chatter my teeth? And I could hear like in not my mind's eye, but like, and not even like out loud audibly, but just kind of like you hear like a thought. And I heard someone saying, look, shower, look. And I'm like, what? And I could see very faintly. Now, I will tell you with my experience personally, and people are blown away when I tell them this, is that I saw literally no trees, anything, no colors brighter whatsoever, no pulsating or vibrating or anything shaking of objects or trees or anything like that. Nothing like that. Nothing. And I really didn't even see anything. I don't feel like in my mind's eye I didn't see anything. It was more like I was recalling things. I was recollecting things, and quite loudly actually. So I'm glad I was really remote because I was like full on in it. And so yeah, my teeth were chattering and I was just like, am I cold? And I'm like, well, you're naked and you're in the woods and it's like 60 degrees, like you're probably cold. But I still don't think that's what it was. It might have been a little bit of combination, but still, like, I don't think that's what it was. I think it was just like a reaction that my body was having to the medicine. And so yeah, so interestingly enough, um I felt like my teeth were chattering for like 20 minutes. I don't think it was really that long, but it felt like forever. And I just kept hearing, look, shower. And so a little bit, just like kind of like very faint, because I'm not like the best at visualization just yet, or I'm still working on my visualization. I want to correct that. I don't want to say I am because then I'm putting it present in the future. But one of the things that I intend to work on is to develop the gift more of sharpening my third eye so that I can visualize a lot better. Okay. And so, but in my mind's eye, I could see like these little, like, I don't know how to describe them, beings like jumping, like bouncing around and like having kind of like light, kind of like rainbow-ish type colors, like under their steps, kind of like the Care Bears or something like that. I'm trying to remember. I didn't really watch that too much, so now I don't remember. But so yeah, so they kept going, look, see, shower, see, look. I'm like, look at what? Like, what am I looking at? And I was starting to get kind of like annoyed because I'm just like, can you please just fucking show me already? And it was like there was like laughing of like, oh, she's trying to tell us, how to do our job kind of thing. And I was like, okay. And I don't want to go too much into it because a lot of this is going to be in the book, But what I will share today is that what was interesting is that all of a sudden I just screamed so loud, and I was just bawling, like bawling, crying. Like I wasn't crying, I was like sobbing, uncontrollably sobbing. Um, and I was just like, my papa, like my papa died. And it was my 6-year-old self. And literally, like, I realized basically what had happened was that, so I didn't know that he was going to die before he died. No one told me that because they were trying to protect me. And it ended up actually traumatizing me very badly because I wasn't mentally or emotionally prepared to lose him. Which, I mean, you're only so prepared, right? But I wasn't prepared at all. So I was just like completely blindsided. So that's probably like, because then I'd be like, oh, you prepare, and then you're like, oh, no problem. Like, no, that's not what happens. But I was just completely blindsided. And what I realized, and I'm actually having an epiphany now that I need to actually write about, of that really being a time in my life where I started to doubt some of my instincts. Because I think a part of me, the message that I was getting is that a part of me like sensed that he might not make it, but for one, I thought we would have more time. And, we obviously had less time than I thought, and I thought he would actually come back from the hospital, but intuitively I sensed that he wasn't going to come back from the hospital. And it was very devastating, and I cried for like literally hours. And there were other epiphanies that I had as well that I'll go over in another video. But yeah, I literally sobbed uncontrollably. And what I realized is that, so I was in kindergarten when he died, and my first memories of ever experiencing ADD like symptoms, which turns out that was anxiety, not ADD, and maybe a little ADD mixed in, but at least the ADD symptoms, was in kindergarten. Isn't that interesting? So, yeah, it's starting to get a little dark out here, so I'm going to go and take the rest of this inside. But yeah, so what happened after he passed away is that literally my mother and my grandmother just had me go back to kindergarten, like almost like nothing had happened. And no one ever talked to me about it. No one ever talked to me. No one even, if they tried, they didn't do it audibly, because I kept waiting and waiting and waiting for people for my family to talk to me about it, and they never did. And the message that I got was that they just wanted me to be okay. And that's why they didn't talk to me about it, which was actually 1,000 times more devastating, because I never was allowed to hold space for myself to just let it be sad. And that was one thing that my family was really not good about, was just letting the sad shit be sad. But what my 6-year-old words were, and I'll go more into this in the book, what my 6-year-old words were was that my best friend died. And I never remembered calling him that or referring to him as that. But those were my words. My best friend in the whole world died suddenly. And I wasn't even allowed to go to his funeral and give my goodbyes, because maybe it was his final wishes, maybe it was. And if it was, I mean, that is what it is. If it wasn't, it still is what it is, right? But those were the cries of 6-year-old little Naz saying, I lost my best friend, and I did not even get to tell him goodbye. It was devastating. to little me. It was devastating. And what I realized is that no one let her grieve, not even me. And I stuffed everything down inside for decades. For decades. And so I got to grieve my papa. And I got to reparent myself in the process, and I got to hold myself and be there for myself in a way that only adult Naz could really speak to and be there for. But that was a huge cause of when I first started to really experience depression. And granted, yes, I came out of that, but everything was repressed. And so I didn't even, like, I remember mentally, I could sense it because I could recall it. But emotionally, I did not speak life to it. And that was what I was able to do through the medicine. And what it showed me was just completely incredible. But the sun is set on this video. But yeah, that was part of my experience, and I'm gonna go inside and share another one with you. So until next time, you guys, thank you for listening. I hope you got something out of this, of just the respect to have for this medicine. It is medicine. It's not meant for doing drugs. The difference between medicine and drugs is one is used to heal and uncover and unravel, and drugs are used to be abused and to hide from your shadow. And that was part of my shadow self that I got to have empathy for, and I'm so grateful. So yeah, video's really messing up now because I don't have the proper light, but I will talk to you guys later. Take care.